my favorite things to do is talk about food.
Right,
you're I'm here for that.
Exactly, right? But certainly we covered a lot of them. Chocolate, coffee grounds, onion and garlic powder. Certainly fatty foods, right? You're saying, well, I made a little bit meatloaf or I made a little bit of ham. Why can't I just give my dog some ham?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, if your dog's 10 pounds, right? How much ham is
Right.
like that much?
Yeah.
It's only a little bit of ham to a dog. 10 pounds is a lot. And that can cause pancreatitis. It can cause vomiting. It can cause diarrhea. Yeast dough that's made with yeast, that can ferment in the stomach if a dog eats it.
Oh,
and what happens during the fermentation process? It produces carbon dioxide and it produces ethanol. So essentially your dog is getting drunk off of the fermenting yeast dough, and it's also getting bloat, right?
Welcome to Care Experts, a podcast dedicated to empowering you with knowledge for your health and self-care. I'm Melissa, a broadcast journalist.
And I'm Selah, a former fitness coach and personal trainer.
Each week, we interview top wellness and medical specialists from across the country, addressing your questions, even those you might be afraid to ask.
From your fur baby's well-being to skincare secrets to honest talk about bigger health issues, get it straight from the expert.
Join us every Wednesday for insights that will guide you on your health journey.
From cosmetic to dental and vet to vision, this is Care Experts. Today's episode is so interesting to me. It is about holiday hazards for pets. I didn't know there were holiday hazards.
There certainly are, and you want to know what they are before you get to the holidays,
right.
so that you have the proper precautions in place,
That
right?
makes sense.
To protect all of the pets in the house, right?
Yes.
And so I'm so excited we're going to get to talk to Dr. Courtney Campbell today.
Me too.
He is a board-certified veterinarian, and he's going to have all the expertise that you guys need to keep your pets safe during the holidays.
Yes, let's go.
Oh, Selah, guess what?
Dr. Campbell's here.
Dr. Courtney Campbell is in the house.
Hello.
Welcome.
Oh, it's so awesome to be here. Something I've been looking forward to. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're so glad to have you here.
Yeah, it's such a great topic. Holiday hazards for pets.
Well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Holidays, pets, and then you two. I mean, come on.
Wait, are we the
win,
hazard?
win. It just works out.
That's
Yes,
a good-
yes.
Okay. I appreciate that.
All I do
appreciate
is,
that.
yeah, yes.
No, but I feel like a lot of times people aren't really thinking about the holidays and there being hazardous things that could potentially affect your pet in the house.
I certainly have never thought
So
of it.
this will help people with putting precautionary measures in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Holidays are supposed to be fun, merry, rejoiceful, right?
Yeah.
Friends,
Yes.
family.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to do is have to go to a trip to the emergency room with
Oh
your
my
pet during the
gosh.
holidays, right?
That sounds
We're
awful.
trying to avoid that for all
Absolutely.
pet parents and all families out there.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
just to give our audience a little bit of background information about you, Dr. Courtney Campbell.
do it.
You are a doctor of veterinary medicine,
Yes.
and you are a diplomate of the American College of Veterinary Surgeons,
surgeons.
and you've been board certified since 2019.
Absolutely.
Talk to me really quickly, though, about being a surgeon in veterinary medicine. What does that mean?
Yeah, surgeon in veterinary medicine essentially means all the tough stuff, right? All the
Yeah.
complicated surgeries, they will send them to you, right? So in very serious terms, like when you're board certified or when you're a diplomate of a particular college, it just means you have advanced training, advanced knowledge. Usually where you work has advanced equipment to handle the most difficult and challenging cases. That's what it means, you know?
Wow. And are you still performing surgeries to this day?
Absolutely.
Do so
60,
much.
80 hours a week. Yeah, absolutely.
And you're also a
Wow.
correspondent, though.
Well,
on all these shows.
Not ju- He's a veterinary medical correspondent.
Yes.
That's
Oh my
his
gosh.
specialty.
It feels like a specialty, and it's something that I will say I never in a million years imagined it. And I do talk to young kids, particularly early in their careers, like you don't know what fun adventures you will have in your career as you get older. So yes, focused 100% on veterinary surgery, but then the idea of being a correspondent, sharing fun information about pets, it's a wonderful journey.
You're helping so many people with that.
so.
And with your podcast, you're just making it accessible.
I hope
Oh,
so.
tell us about the podcast.
Yes, anything possible, right? And that's where we explore everything that's happening in the world of pets and veterinary medicine. And when you're a specialist, you do have to put the blinders on and just focus on one thing and get very good at one thing. Problem is, there's a whole exciting world happening outside of that, and you miss it. And so what I have been able to do is reconnect with what brought me to the dance, right? Reconnect with
That's
that
so
love I
cool.
have with veterinary medicine. And that's what Anything Possible is. You get to explore the wonderful world of pet news, information, and veterinary medicine.
What brought you to the dance? Why did you decide I want to be a veterinarian, and particularly or specifically a veterinary surgeon?
You know, what brought me to the dance is wildlife, right? I grew up in New England, in Connecticut specifically, and every yard, pretty much in Connecticut, almost every yard, has the woods, right? And the woods and the swamps, that's where true exploration begins. Your imagination runs wild. I developed my love for animals after that. And then once I was in vet school, I was convinced I wanted to be a radiologist.
Oh.
All right, and like the record just
Interesting.
stops, right? Radiologist, and
Yeah.
I realized when I was pursuing radiology, I'm like, you're going to be in a dark room looking at X-rays, ultrasounds, CT scans, MRIs, and if that's cool for radiologists, wonderful. But I realized I was like, that's not what's going to
does
be.
not
next.
seem like you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
you're so dynamic.
Well, that's sweet of you to say.
yes.
So I made I had that epiphanal moment. I made an abrupt change, and I couldn't have been happier. But that is something I talk about all the time, where your life's journey, your professional journey, may take you through twists, turns, cul-de-sacs, right? It may take you do
Absolutely.
U-turns, right? But the key is you keep going, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of the turns you take, you keep going.
And you follow your heart.
You follow
like
your
you
heart.
said,
I
you know.
love
Your
it.
heart, your passion, and the science,
That
because I know
probably-
you love science.
I do.
Yeah.
I probably was too long-winded of an answer, but the reality is that's what brought me
Yeah.
to the dance.
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're
Well,
talking holiday hazards
Holiday
today.
hazards. Yeah. Can you give us like an overview of what some of these hazards are? Because I
Yeah.
really don't
During
know.
the holiday season, you're not even thinking about that. So
How much
Right.
time do we have? There's,
Uh-oh. Go.
around every corner, there's some sort of hazard lurking, right?
Really?
And I think what's great about pet parents is that most pet parents that I've met, they're pretty well versed in some of the
Okay.
common ones, right? They know to avoid chocolate, right?
Oh,
They
yes, I
know
did
that
know that one.
antifreeze, and particularly during the colder, when they're pretty well versed on that, and they know that if your dog gets into antifreeze, go immediately to the veterinarian. Don't wait, don't pass go, whatever that monopoly metaphor
Yeah, I know,
is.
yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah.
just don't collect any money. Just go right to
To
the
the vet,
veterinarian
yes.
with antifreeze, chocolate, coffee. You want
Coffee?
yeah,
Oh, I
coffee
didn't know
grounds. You want to be
this.
really
Oh my gosh.
you want to be really careful about that.
Oh.
And then, of course, I find pet parents are pretty well aware of onions and garlic. However,
I didn't know
No, I didn't know those either.
yeah, onions and garlic are toxic. You want to be very careful. But here's where it becomes really important is that when it comes to toxins, dose matters, right? And size matters in the sort of the pet, right? And so if you have a St. Bernard, which is a massive dog, a little bit of garlic, onion, that may not be that dangerous. However, when I was practicing Connecticut, I had somebody who's basically doing some winter cleaning. They're buying all brand new seasonings for their holiday dinner. And so they threw away 2 really large canisters of onion powder and garlic powder, and they threw them in the trash. Their St. Bernard got into that trash and ended up with severe anemia, which
Oh
it can
my
destroy
gosh.
red blood cells. And that dog spent a whole week in the hospital, ultimately survived,
Oh,
but
goodness.
ultimately sickness and thousands of dollars later. So my point is, onion and garlic powder, not only are onions and garlic toxic, but that's a concentrated version of that.
Oh,
That's also,
right.
he thought he discarded them in the trash can.
Yeah.
And their dog still got into them. And also it goes to show you that it's about the dose, the amount you get, and then also the size of the pet. So there's so many
yeah,
things. So
yeah.
if we were just to kind of put things into categories, you might say, Doc, what are some food hazards?
Okay.
What are some environmental hazards? And then what are some home hazards, right? Let's talk about
Go.
food.
Yeah,
Let's talk
I
about
mean,
food.
we're all ears.
All right,
Go.
'cause
Yes.
One of my favorite things to do is talk about food.
I'm
right?
here
So,
for it.
right,
I'm here
yes,
for that.
Exactly, right? But certainly we covered a lot of them: chocolate, coffee grounds, onion and garlic powder. But what about macadamia nuts, right?
Didn't know that.
Those are toxic. They can certainly cause neurologic signs in dogs, right? Certainly fatty foods, right? You're saying, well, I made a little bit meatloaf or I made a little bit of ham. Why can't I just give my dog
Just a
some
little
ham?
bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, if your dog's 10 pounds, right? How much ham is like
Right.
that much? It's
Yeah.
only a little bit of ham to a dog 10 pounds is a lot.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that can
yeah.
cause pancreatitis, it can cause vomiting, it can cause diarrhea. Those are really critical signs that we can see. Yeast dough that's made with yeast, that can ferment in the stomach if a dog eats it. And what happens during the fermentation process, it produces carbon dioxide and it produces ethanol. So essentially your dog is getting drunk off of the fermenting yeast dough,
yeah.
and it's also getting bloat, right? And sometimes that stomach can twist.
Oh no.
What about a different type of dough, though? We call sort of homemade play dough. It's just
Yeah,
flour, water, salt, cream of tartar. That's all it is. And we'll actually see dogs who have had salt toxicity from the ingesting some of that homemade dough.
Because
right?
probably during the holidays as a mom, like
Yeah,
for
there's
you
Play-Doh
and your
everywhere.
kids, you're trying to entertain them to keep them busy. You're like, oh, here, let me make you some homemade Play-Doh.
Yes.
So now it's at a lower level because it's with your kids, and your
Absolutely.
dog gets a bit.
And your
the
kid may
kids
not
may
know.
even
he's-
feed 'em some.
Yeah,
because
the
they
kid
don't
may
even
actually think it's
know.
funny. Hey, look, Mom, my dog's eating all of my
Yeah.
Play-Doh. Or, Mom, could you make me some more Play-Doh? Why? Oh, because Rocky ate all of it.
Oh,
okay,
jeez.
that means you and Rocky are on your way to the veterinary.
Oh,
you know?
my
Oh,
goodness.
No, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
So that's also on the list of hazardous foods for pets, like
Absolutely.
unsafe.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And there's a host of other hazardous foods. We may not have time to get to all of them, but xylitol. Xylitol is an artificial
Xylitol is
sweetener.
hazardous for us too.
Yes. Artificial sweetener, you'll find it in peanut butter, you'll
Yeah.
find it in cakes, and it can cause severe drops in blood sugar, which we call hypoglycemia.
Oh,
It can
really?
cause liver toxicity or liver necrosis, right? So my point is, there are a host of different things out there. Nutmeg, right? So these are things that we want to make sure that our dogs are not getting
And
into.
never mind the fact, like you said, with the kids and the Play-Doh holiday guest at the holiday table
Oh,
feeding
that
the
part,
scraps,
that
right?
part.
Off of the table.
Absolutely. And then of course there's obstructions, right? You can get a dog who is just eating chicken. All right, chicken's not toxic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But now he's got a chicken bone lodged
Oh,
in his
geez.
intestines. That can be challenging. That can lead you to a trip to the OR as well. So, like I said, we're not going to scare any pet parents out there.
Yeah.
Majority of things, you just want to make sure during the holidays, there's so much activity.
Yeah.
You just want to make sure that you keep your pet protected.
And we know that during the Christmas season, there are certain foods that you're going to see a lot more of.
Yes.
Is there a list of maybe safe, non-hazardous Christmas/holiday treats or foods that are okay for your pet to consume?
Most vegetables, you're going to be totally fine.
Okay.
Right? Most vegetables, you're going to be fine. So zucchini, cauliflower, broccoli, those are fine. Apples, a little bits of melon, scrambled egg, maybe even boiled, boiled meat, boiled chicken breast,
or something. Okay.
unseasoned
Always
beef.
unseasoned, okay, yeah.
These are great. You can put a little salt in there. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a ton. I'm not the type of guy that puts raisins in my potato salad. But
I hope not.
Right. But if you do, it's important to remember that grapes and raisins are highly toxic to dogs.
Right.
Okay, let's move away from food
Okay.
and talk about like Christmas ornaments. You
Yeah,
have
let's talk
ornaments,
What was
tinsel.
your- yeah.
Do we have
No,
a Christmas
yeah,
tree
we had
up?
food, we had environment, we had home. Let's jump to home.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
yeah, home.
Yeah, home. So a lot of people at home during the holidays will have plants, right? They'll have plants. Lilies can be particularly toxic. Mistletoe or any plant in the holly family.
Like
Okay.
poinsettias?
Poinsettias actually have an overrated toxicity where people think that they're more toxic than they actually are. They can
Oh.
cause some vomiting or diarrhea, as ingestion of any plant can do that. It can cause some stomach upset, but they're not as toxic as people like to think. But certainly mistletoe is, lilies are
Really?
for sure.
Mistletoe.
If you have maybe plants that you had outside that you brought in, like sago palms are particularly toxic.
What about the Christmas tree itself, the tree?
The
like
needles,
a real tree.
the needles
yeah.
themselves, they can be very abrasive to the food
course.
pipe or the esophagus,
Okay.
for sure. Some people, the water right at the bottom of that Christmas tree that they're trying, that can cause bacterial overgrowth because you just have stagnant water in there, right?
Have you ever seen a dog eat it? Like we always have a fake tree. Has a dog ever?
I was just about
Right?
to ask that because we switched to a fake tree.
Yeah.
I don't actually see dogs eating the fig
Okay,
tree.
good.
But what I
Phew.
will say is that sometimes these trees will tip over, right? And fall on your animals, right? Particularly cats who like to climb trees.
Wow.
So I would say make sure that you have your Christmas tree anchored on both the top
right.
and the bottom, right?
Oh,
Because
that's so
smart.
that's
I never
so
thought about that
important.
either.
And then This doesn't work, but people still do it for some reason.
Okay.
They'll put a little bit of aspirin in the water for their Christmas tree because they believe it makes it last longer.
Oh.
Well, there's no evidence that actually works.
I didn't know that. I
And
never heard
it
that.
actually
I
can be
either.
very toxic to dogs and cats to drink
drink that
water
water.
that's stagnant, has bacteria, and may have aspirin in it
Oh,
as well.
geez.
So yeah, everything from those fragile ornaments, wires, right? We should definitely keep those wires covered.
Oh, the hooks
the
on
hooks.
the
Yeah,
ornament.
the
Hooks on the
hooks.
ornaments, but then wires that you're plugging in, right? You can
The
have
lights,
a cat.
you
The
mean?
lights, yeah. They certainly can have. You want to have some cord protectors as well, just so that
Oh,
they're not
right.
gnawing on them or chewing.
You know what? And the garlands. So we wrap
Garland.
our banister, and then there's other areas in the house that have garlands and stuff. I wouldn't say all of them are in reach, but I guess at other people's homes, those could be within reach. And it's not tinsel, but it is something. I guess that would be hazardous to
Yeah,
a
those are
pet.
perhaps the most dangerous form of anything that a pet's eating
Sure.
that they're not supposed to.
Sure.
We use the term foreign body because
Oh,
it's
right.
foreign
It's a
to the
foreign
body,
body, yeah.
right? So there's solid foreign bodies, like your dog ate a rubber ball. That's solid. Then you have something called a linear foreign body, and that's anything that's string-like. So that includes a garland, tinsel, socks, clothes, towels, those sorts of things. Now you say, well, okay, which one's more dangerous? Solid foreign body or a linear foreign body? Linear by far.
Why
Here's
is
what
that?
they do. So if I am a cat and I ate string, or a dog and I ate some socks or something like that, what happens is the fabric is moving through the intestine. The intestine is inching along, and then it gets lodged at a particular location, and the intestine continues to move. What happens after that is it bunches up like an accordion, or what we call plication. And now you have an intestine that's supposed to be a long tube, and it's bunched up like an accordion, and this linear foreign body begins to saw through the intestine as it's moving, right? And so anytime as a surgeon, I hear we have a dog or a cat who ingested a linear foreign body, I tell the family, I don't know what it's going to look like when we look inside. So garlands, tinsel, fabric, string, socks, clothes, undergarments, all of those can act as linear foreign bodies. Solid foreign bodies, bones, balls, those, they're still bad, right? But they typically tend not to bunch up the
I
intestine.
see.
You know what, something I just thought of? So obviously when you're opening the presents, what I now do is take all that wrapping paper and immediately put it in a trash bag so they can be disposed of, because what I've noticed is if we don't and it's piled up in the corner, there's the bow, there's the string sometimes that people have used, and the wrapping paper, and my dog, Rocky, will sometimes try to chew on it or like settle in it or wrestle with it, play with it, because it's new and it's fun. And it's, is that dangerous too? The wrapping paper,
You know,
the,
I
the
haven't.
bows?
I'll be honest with
It's
you.
a foreign body.
It can be if they ingest it, but
Okay.
generally speaking, dogs are pretty smart. They realize, all right, this is paper. I don't really
Okay,
want
I
to
don't
chew.
want it.
So
I don't
that's
want it.
fine. Okay.
But things that they're investigating, particularly puppies, they put, puppies mediate and explore the world by putting things in their mouth,
Yeah,
right?
just like babies.
So
babies, yeah.
even things like you're like, how did that get in there, right? Like I remember seeing a dog that ate, the brush that you use to clean the toilet, that long brush. They ate the whole entire brush and it was intact in the stomach. They're just exploring the world, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a mechanism, but we won't get
And it was
into
a
it. But the
puppy?
no, it was
it was a
it was
dog.
adult dog.
Okay.
But my point is, there's dogs.
Never
And
know.
we've heard about dogs who eaten $20 in cash, and they'll vomit up $1 at a time, right?
Oh my
So there's the strangest things you'll find in there. But I think it's so important to try to puppy-proof your home during the holidays.
Oh, yeah, that is so important. I never thought of this.
Yes.
Man, what are some of the things of holiday stress in pets?
Yeah, this is key, right? Because there are some pets who are prone to anxiety-related behaviors, right? And when they're prone to anxiety, having people come over, that can be really distressing.
Okay.
Particularly if you've got, an uncle or a friend who loves to come over with the deer antlers on. And,
We all have one of those.
Yeah, exactly. or some type of costume. To your pet, that can look particularly distressing because like, who is that? Is that even a person? Like, what's going on? And sometimes they'll take those costumes and they'll put them on the pet itself. And that elastic underneath can be sometimes a little too tight. Sometimes pets will bat them off and then eat the costumes.
Oh.
So when you have certain stresses at home, noise, people, costumes, food. All of these things can be particularly stressful. And then there are times in which dogs will just eat things out of stress. For example, you know those Duraflame logs that we use to start the fireplace? Yeah, I certainly have heard of a dog just eating an entire Duraflame log. Now,
my gosh.
most of the time, those
so
Duraflame
dangerous.
logs, they're just sawdust and wax.
Okay.
But if you eat a big enough chunk, it can be a foreign body, right? So you got to be particularly careful. And that's why I was saying to you, there's dangers lurking around every corner, right?
Yeah.
Are there signs we should be looking for in our pets around the holiday seasons that they are extra stressed or extra anxious?
Yeah, certainly signs. Number one, signs that they haven't shown before, right? If your dog's not a pacer, right? If your dog doesn't tend to vocalize or salivate or chew or act out, these are all signs, that your dog is stressed. Sometimes even just what we call like humping or dominance behavior. That's just like a little kid throwing a tantrum. Like there's just too much activity and I don't know what to do with myself, and so I engage in that. Now, I mean, socially, people think that's funny or gross or whatever the case is, but that's just a dog who may be exhibiting signs where I'm anxious or stressed,
Oh, I
right?
didn't know
So
that.
that would be a sign, right? So I think that just number one, aberrant behavior, things
Okay.
abnormal behavior. Number two, those classic signs, destructive behavior, pawing, pacing, those sorts of things. And that's why I think it's so important that you have this ironclad bond with your pet that says, when you're stressed, I have a safe space for you, right? And it's a meditation mat where on this particular comfy mat, you have a food dispensing treat, you have praise, they can relax there. You can work your way up to a 30-minute stay command on this meditation mat. And this is not something you want to do the day before Hanukkah, Christmas, or any of the holidays, right? It's not something you want to do before the holiday season. You have to start months ahead of time so that
Right.
they understand this is my safe space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
These are such good tips, and I'm like, why hadn't I thought of these?
I know.
8 years ago. I mean, we've had Rocky all of these years, but I mean, it's not too late to implement them now and to make sure that we're just preparing him for what we know is about to come.
Yes.
You mentioned this preparing the space because of all the different people coming to your house for the holidays
Sure,
and stuff.
yeah. Particularly during the holiday season,
Yeah.
there's an increase in activity. And that activity can be a particular stressor. Dogs really love routine, right? And they really enjoy the consistency, right?
Yeah, they really
do. That's what's beautiful about them, right? Is that you can take them on the same time, in the same place, and they will enjoy that a lot. But they also enjoy variability as well. But that schedule volatility, the guests and the noise, those and the foods and all of those sorts of things, the music and the loud sounds. Maybe there's fireworks.
Yeah.
So, but my point is, you're right. For a dog, it could be particularly distressing. yeah.
Also, holiday travel. I was just thinking,
Oh,
people take their dog
that,
on the plane. Yeah.
I almost feel like we should come back and do another episode about holiday travel just because, my goodness, that's an entirely different beast in terms of how do I travel safely with my dog? How do I make sure that they're accustomed to the crate? And what kinds of, should we use any medications before going? And, what kinds of things are going to be helpful? Because holiday travel's a real
big
concern.
one.
And I'm so appreciative that you brought that up.
Oh,
We need to dedicate
Yeah,
an
we gotta do
entire
another one.
episode
Good,
to that.
Let's do it.
Okay, so for getting prepared for the holiday season, in the event of, just in case, if you will, what would be helpful for a pet owner to already have in place?
Number one, most important is to have a safe space, right? That's absolutely important to have is a safe space. Number two, have tools in place where you can prevent dangers or trip to the emergency room. Here are a few tools in number one. Anchors on both the top and the bottom of the Christmas tree so it doesn't fall if you celebrate Christmas. If you also can have what we call an automatic doorbell that you hang on the Christmas tree that responds to vibrations or it responds to movement. That way, before you decorate it, you just hang it on. If your dog or cat jumps on it or moves it, they go, whoa, that's not cool. I don't want to be on that. This doorbell just rang. And now you have sort of classically conditioned them not to jump on the Christmas tree. You can go ahead and decorate and just use your normal precautions. Something called a scat mat, which is a mat that's around the tree that feels a little bit like prickly. It's not very comfortable for the paws. And so your kitty cats and dogs will be like, I don't really want to be on this scat mat. And then one of those little gates that you can put around the bottom of the tree, maybe a baby gate, just to keep them away from that water, right? And so And then if your dog's prone to anxiety, you could certainly talk to your veterinarian about, hey, this is a time where my dog's anxiety level is low level, but it takes a spike during the holidays. Can I have some medications on board during that time? And of course, your pheromones and your compression vests that you use, right? So these are tools to have before the holidays because, like you said, you're going to be getting a lot of knocks, and of course, you're going to be getting a lot of packages.
So many packages.
Yeah, so many packages,
Yeah.
right? So these are things that you want to have in place before.
And it's certainly also a good idea to have your veterinarian's number already programmed and in
speed
your
dial.
phone. It's on
Yeah.
speed dial, ready to go.
Thank you so much for saying that because right below that veterinarian's number, you should have the pet poison hotline number and the ASPCA pet poison
didn't know
hotline
there
as
was
well.
such a
thing.
Have those on speed dial because what's going to happen is this: just like I'm a specialist in surgery. I am so grateful for all those specialists and toxicologists out there where I can say, listen, my pet just ate a Duraflame log. Is that a concern?
I do?
Right?
What do I do?
Or my
Yeah.
pet just bit into a glow stick for my child
Oh
and
my
there's glow everywhere.
gosh.
Is that toxic? Should I be? And will literally walk you through the entire process. I want to give a huge shout out to all of the toxicologist specialists out there and poison control specialists who will take your question and walk you through the process.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That is incredible. Okay, we're going to move on to one of the favorite segments.
Uh-oh.
It's called Ask the Expert.
Oh,
Ask
shoot.
the
Let me get
Expert.
out of here.
No,
Let me
you're
get
the
out of
expert.
here.
We need
All
you.
right.
You're vital
Okay.
for this.
I'll hang out.
This is an opportunity for our audience to get to ask you a question
Okay.
through us.
Let's do it.
Here's the first one. What tasty and safe snacks can I give my pet during the holidays instead of human food so they don't feel left out of the party?
Number one, there are some safe human foods that you can give. So I will say, I'll answer the first question. What are some safe treats that you can give? There are a variety of healthy snacks in pet stores everywhere that are either dried fruits or they are weight management treats, and they are sometimes sort of like jerky treats for dogs, right?
okay.
And so these are very safe for dogs as well. And then, of course, on the human food level, there's green beans, cauliflower, apples, melon, pineapple. These are all safe treats that you can give your dogs.
What about cheese? Is cheese
Oh.
okay? Because I've seen cube cheese be given as a treat
Yeah.
before.
Small amounts. I would
Okay,
use that
okay.
with caution because
Okay.
some pets are totally fine with cheese. Others can have a dairy sensitivity.
Wait, lactose intolerant pets?
Absolutely.
Lactose intolerant
I
dogs.
mean,
Oh,
they're
And dairy-free dogs.
Yes, listen.
Dairy-free.
Yeah, dairy-free.
Dairy-free,
And listen,
guys.
pets don't grow
No
up
eggnog for you.
drinking
Yeah.
cow's milk, right? Yeah.
Well,
so,
that's true.
Right, because they're
Of course, why
not
would
cows.
they?
Why wouldn't
Right.
Are there any specific breeds or types of pets that are more prone to certain holiday hazards?
Any particular breeds or pets, I will just say that any pet is prone to holiday hazards, particularly puppies because they can be pretty inquisitive, right?
Yes.
So that's number one. Number two, dogs who are smush face breeds who are prone to what we call brachycephalic dogs. These are your French bulldogs. These are your pugs. These are your English bulldogs. They can get stressed and have difficulty breathing. So if your dog is already having a respiratory issue, they can be right up there. And then of course, your particularly athletic pets, right? Yeah, because, let's be honest, there's some pets who, they could care less that you're home or that there's people home. But then there's pets who can jump pretty high and get things, counter surfers and cats who can climb trees, right? So it's so important. These are the pets that I would definitely say be careful of. Puppies, certainly there's brachycephalic breeds or smush face breeds, and then of course your particularly athletic pets.
Wow.
Okay. This question.
Yeah.
What should I do if I suspect my pet has ingested something toxic during a holiday gathering, especially if it's after hours?
After hours, number one, get a friend, okay? Because once you get a friend, you're going to say, go start the car, let's put my pet in the car, and then while they're doing that, you're dialing poison control, okay?
Okay,
Or
yeah.
you're dialing your veterinarian. But you need help at that point because as you're trying to gather your stuff, grab your keys, phone, wallet, keys, right? You're already trying to grab all of those.
Yeah.
You're trying to put your pet in the car, or
Yeah.
safe way to carry your pet is in a carrier, right? So you're trying to get the carrier involved. You need an assistant at that time, and your assistant's going to help you, a family member, and then you're going to be dialing poison control at that time and starting that process. So most important, get a friend. Number two, call poison control.
Okay. Whew.
Perfect, yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for a natural spray deterrent to keep my pet away from our gifts and my cat out of my tree? I think that you kind of talked about that with the
Yeah.
doorbell.
Yes, we've talked about that with the doorbell. There have been a variety of things that have been tried, everything from cayenne pepper, red pepper, citronella. You have to be particularly careful about those deterrents. I would say if you're going to go that route, try to use a pet-approved deterrent, right?
Okay.
There's things that are called like bitter apple spray or pet off, where they're just sort of like just noxious. They're just not very tasty. However, I have heard stories that they're like, "Puh, that's nothing for my
Yeah,
dog.
deter
He likes
me."
it as a snack,
Yeah.
right? So you've got to be,
always
it
the-
does not, there's always the exception, right? It
Yeah,
doesn't work
yeah,
for
yeah.
every dog. First step, use a pet approved deterrent if you can, versus trying to do something homemade, versus
DIY.
covering something in soap or something like
Oh,
that.
gosh.
Got to be very careful.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything that we didn't touch on when it comes to making sure that you keep your pet safe during the holidays that you'd like to share with us, Dr. Campbell?
I'd say I think you guys were incredibly comprehensive. We talked about food, we talked about home hazards. We didn't get into environmental hazards, but here's what I would say. You got to be careful about frostbite. That's real. It gets super cold out there, particularly on the ear tips, right? You want to be careful about rock salt or things that melt ice,
Oh my
right?
God. I
didn't
You
think
got to
about
be
that.
careful about, we did talk about antifreeze, right?
Yeah.
You want
Yes.
to talk about, be careful of hypothermia, dogs who are outside for too long and they're walking across what appears to be a frozen lake
Oh.
and they crash into the lake and now you have potential drowning episode or hypothermia, right? So these kinds of things, these environmental hazards can be very real as pets explore the outside world when there's ice on the ground.
How long should a dog be out in the cold like that? Not in the lake, but like in just
Right.
a
Yeah.
cold environment.
Yeah.
you know?
Man, there are huskies out there who absolutely
right.
love
They
to
love
jump and roll in the snow. Then you've got your chihuahua with a sweater on who's just shivering all the
Shaking,
time.
yeah.
Right?
The moment you walk
So
out the door.
you're from the right. So it's a little bit dog dependent, and I
Okay.
can't put a defined time on there because there are, like I said, Malamutes and Alaska Huskies where they would spend all day in the snow if they could. But I
Okay.
would say definitely make sure that you're watching for signs like reddening of the ear tips or reddening of the paws to make sure that your dog's not getting frostbite from those particular situations.
Dr. Campbell, you have such a dynamic personality.
I
that's
know.
nice of you to
Just your
say.
level of expertise when it comes to pets and how to care for them and how to really bond with them is exceptional.
And you explain it all
really,
so
I know.
well
She
for
She
our
doesn't even have
audience.
a dog yet.
taking
And
notes.
she's like, wait, what else? Okay, and I'm going to be
Okay,
able
I'm
to
gonna
do
do
that. I'm going
that.
to do this. I'm
Yeah.
going to do this. And that's because of
Exactly.
you.
Well,
Thank
I
you, Dr.
appreciate
Campbell.
it, but I'll be honest with you. I feel like you guys pull the best out of me.
Oh,
So-
we do our best.
Yes, well, that's the truth.
Oh,
That's
what
the truth.
else? What else?
I didn't even know it was down in there, and you got it.
Oh, you were like,
Yeah, we got
oh, there
Well, you
it
have
is.
to come back.
Yeah, you got to
All
come
right,
back.
let's do it. Let's do
Yes.
let's do as many rounds as necessary. I feel like there's always going to be a need
For
for some
Yes.
great pet information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is
Jinx.
All
All right, thank you, Dr. Campbell.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us and being part of our growing community.
Stay tuned for new Care Expert episodes every Wednesday. And don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app and YouTube. Hey there, don't leave yet. Just wanted to say if you want to hear more about health and wellness, check out these episodes of Care Experts. Also, before you go, make sure you like and subscribe.